I'm Chris Berry, Chief Technology Officer and President of the Cybersecurity Solutions and Platform team at PDI. I'm going to spend a few minutes today discussing kind of the current situation we've got with Ukraine and Russia. As many of you know, over the last couple of weeks, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and that has created a lot of uncertainty for those of us in the fuel and retail space, especially when we think about security. And so if you think about PDI and what we've been doing, we've got a series of products in the portfolio that can help you with your cybersecurity needs, everything from monitoring what's going on in your system. And then we also have our GasBuddy app that is for consumers, helping you find gas, maybe best price on gas. So a lot of different options there with the GasBuddy app as well. And, this is such an important time for us. And we really do believe if you're not talking to PDI about your security needs, please be talking to somebody. It is not a matter of if, but when we'll see an attack. And I think we're especially vulnerable in the fuel, in the fuel space. So today I have joining me, I have Tom Callahan, who's the Director of Security Operations for PDI. And I've got Patrick Haan, who's the Head of Petroleum Analysis for GasBuddy, that is now a PDI company. So welcome, Tom and Patrick.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
So, Tom, let's start with security side of the house. This isn't the first time that we've seen, nation state sponsored attacks. It's probably escalated a bit with what's going on in our global situation, but this isn't something new. We've been through this before.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely seeing some newer variations or iterations of malware. We've seen a couple new pieces, mainly focused around what's called a wiper. And so really the whole core of what we've seen to date, kind of around this conflict, has been around disabling systems. And when I say disabling, I mean completely wiping these things out. So it's really more being about destructive, about breaking up operational capabilities, things like that. And we've seen these attacks going back as far as January. So as the tensions were heating up, prior to the official invasions and things like that, we were already seeing a lot of staging occurring within the Russian and Ukraine landscapes, where I think both sides were really trying to get footholds into core infrastructure or core systems that would give them the operational capability if a conflict like this were to break out. Where they can use those footholds to then, disrupt, and kind of create a little bit of chaos on that cyber front. So that's definitely something we're already seeing in this.
Yeah, I think there's some things too that we can even think about now. Certainly you can expect, more phishing, requests coming in, kind of just being on heightened alert for the things that we can do with our individual employees even, and just start there as an option.
Absolutely. What you're going to see is, as time goes on, as the conflict hopefully starts to die down a little bit, you've got a lot of sanctions from countries across the world that are really pushing back against Russia and the actions that are going on. And so what you're going to see is there's going to be some activity, some potential backlash or retaliation, coming from those sanctions, coming from, what's going on against Russia at this point. You're also seeing some kind of lines being drawn in the sand around your well-known threat groups. Some are siding with individual countries, some are saying that they're going to stay out of it. But all of that's what's that kind of really leading up to is that we're going to see a continued presence and potentially an increased presence of attacks against both nation states as well as critical infrastructure within those nation states. So you're going to see phishing campaigns. You're going to see what we like to call kind of the human element or the social attacks. What those are going to look like are things like scam donations, where they're trying to, pull at your feelings and try and get you to donate. And a lot of that money is probably not going to the places you think it's going to go. You're going to see increases in phishing campaigns around these types of topics, around topics that people might be very passionate about as we go forward in these different types of conflicts. And so they're going to be less wary of clicking on links, of going to potentially malicious websites. And what that really means in a lot of cases is that you're going to see a significant increase in social engineering attacks. And you're going to see really the attackers going for ways to get additional footholds into other businesses, organizations, different types of companies that they're going to target. and they may just be targeting just to get additional systems under their belt that they can use to then continue to further their attacks. So that's going to be a big push. I don't think we expect to see it in the very short term, but I think what you're definitely going to see is the activity increasing as the weeks and months go by, and it becoming more and more dangerous.
Yeah, I think about this a lot, Patrick. If we kick over to the consumer side of things, specifically around phishing scams, being able to maybe misuse logos for consumer products, right? To try and get people to click on things, gift cards, whatever that might be.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I mean, you see significant names and brands present, and it certainly even GasBuddy logos have been utilized because people are so aware of the logo. They associate it with savings, and there have been offers using the GasBuddy logo to try and draw phishing attacks in to legitimize a phishing attack. And you can see that not only from consumer brands, but with gas prices going up, everyone's looking for a break, and so that's a very tempting proposition when somebody starts a phishing attack by the allure of lowering prices or free gas station gift cards, et cetera. So consumers need to be very wary about that, and brands and businesses need to be very in tune with what could potentially be going on in use of some of those logos that are trying to win over those consumers.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's the impact on business, but there really is that impact on the consumers as well. And if you think about the fuel chain supply, or that supply chain, right, that's coming out, we saw this with Colonial Pipeline. It shut the Southeast down in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of us live in the Southeast, and certainly we're headquartered there, but we felt that when the pipeline was shut down for those days. I think we are at a bigger risk of causing some major economic impact, Tom, if we lose our supply chains.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The Colonial, if anything, the Colonial taught us, it was that something which really, as far as the how advanced the attack was and things like that, it wasn't a very advanced attack, but the impact that we saw across basically the world, especially the U.S., was monumental. I mean, you had almost near panic, really, at times going on. And so you're going to continue to see impacts like that, especially with disruption campaigns, which is kind of what we're seeing focused right now with these wiper types of malware. You're going to see a potential that if you continue to have infrastructure, you continue to have gas supply, fuel and that kind of stuff impacted, that's going to really further impact really what's going on in the cybersecurity realm.
Yeah. And I think, Patrick, it's real interesting when you think about that disruption. Certainly it causes, it does cause some panic, which it drove a lot of people to the GasBuddy app during that time frame to get guidance on where to find fuel, so it's not just about locating fuel, but we've also seen the prices go up lately with some of this conflict happening in Europe.
Yeah, Chris, it's been really incredible. There's so much going on now, and the risk is elevated. Fuel prices are going up. We're coming into a time of year that consumers are greeting higher prices, not only because of the seasonality, the changeovers that take place every spring, but the Russian situation certainly causing prices to go even higher yet. And so, you talk about disruptions, the Colonial Pipeline outage, and prices were quite a bit lower that time. People's senses are much heightened when prices are so high. So when there are cybersecurity threats and other issues when prices are high, it certainly feeds this fever pitch of Americans that want to get out there and save. And so maybe even a higher level of being susceptible during these times. And unfortunately, there's so many issues right now, pandemic recovery, businesses are getting tossed around. There's been an incredible amount of volatility in the fuel price itself because of all these factors that are continuing to change on a daily basis. A lot of wild cards between Russia and Ukraine, and all the situations could change at a moment's notice. So it's been very difficult and challenging for consumers to stay ahead of that. Obviously, the short-term impacts are profound. Americans are spending $375 million more on gasoline every single day. And that's going to continue. I think the imbalances that we're seeing at the pump will continue. Then adding in all of the threats that we're facing from Russia and Ukraine, it's going to be a very tumultuous summer, not only pricey at the pump, but all of these issues could resurface. I mean, never have been more aware of a potential cyber attack than what happened last year. And that certainly is something that will happen in the future. It's not a matter of when, certainly not a matter of if, but when those types of attacks will happen again.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. And I think when you see, another, because of that heightened alert, you do have some real sensitivity to consumer behavior, responding quickly to that risk. And, you seeing people run out to sort of that panic a little bit of, oh, this might happen. And so people now create a little bit of a problem because we're running through fuel pretty quickly and things like that. Have you seen some of that as well?
Oh, without a doubt, absolutely. The fear is self-fulfilling. People see people going out, and during the Colonial outage, just desperation. People were filling up plastic bags with fuel. So a lot of this is not only just managing the expectations and security, but having a very measured response to alleviate consumers that are panicked over a said situation. It can happen anytime that this could happen again down the road, especially with all of the issues pushing up prices for fuel already.
Yep. And so what are, Patrick, just stay with that for a moment. What are some of the things right now that consumers should be doing? What would our call be of action to the consumers?
Well, obviously the price of fuel is very high, and consumers are watching what's going on overseas and how it's impacting their wallets. And, this coming at a time that the economy continues to recover, Americans should prepare to pay higher prices at the pump this spring and summer. They should be on alert for some of these attempts to make them think that fuel prices are cheaper, but they certainly should be employing an app like the GasBuddy app to shop around. And on the payments aspect, to reduce the cost, shopping around is one thing, but then on the payment side, signing up for a fuel loyalty program like Shell Fuel Rewards or other stations, they all offer, many stations offer programs that can reduce the cost, whether it's paying with cash and getting a discount or credit card rebates. Consumers are going to be paying more this summer, and those are just some of the tools that they can use to offset the higher prices.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. And Tom, when we think about our business, our businesses that we support, what should businesses be doing today, to be as prepared as we can be for an attack? Obviously, nothing's 100% guaranteed, but how can you be as prepared as you can?
I mean, awareness is the biggest one. So when you really take a step back and look at what awareness is going to be, it's making sure that you're having communication, with your team and your employees, making sure that they understand, what's a risky interaction and what's not a risky interaction. Knowing what a phishing email looks like, knowing what to do if you do get a phishing email, knowing what, in general, what a social attack and the various communication mechanisms we use on a day-to-day basis looks like. And these attacks may not be necessarily you as an employee of a company, but they could, as Patrick mentioned around gas prices and things like that, they could be targeted individuals as well. And so that, that threat of being breached as an individual could then layer back down into the company or the organization you work for. Yeah. So it's really important to understand and be aware. There's a, trust but verify, obviously all the time, every time. Just because your senior leadership sends you a text message or an email or something like that requesting you to do something or go somewhere, make sure that that's actually that person or those individuals. Use alternate mechanisms to verify that. And then when it comes down to some of the internal like IT teams or the support teams, being sure that you have proper controls, proper protections in place, antivirus, anti-malware systems, using EDR tools or similar, for advanced, kind of detection and response capability. And then working with your organization as a whole, if you're coming from that technical side, and making sure that you have a defined or understood, incident response plan. So because it's not when, it's you've got to figure out what you want to do, what the process is. You've got to know who to contact so that you're not just kind of swinging in the dark, hoping that you're going to take care of an incident when it happens. Detection and then your response capabilities quickly are really the number one way to combat the significant risk and the significant impact of a cyber attack. Yeah,
thanks, Tom. I know one of the things we're always talking about is make sure your systems are patched.
Oh, yeah.
We were chuckling as the three of us got on the call today about multi-factor authentication. And while sometimes, inconvenient, it's important that it's set up, those type of things. So just being really, aware of what's going on around you, pay attention to your security practices inside your business. And certainly, PDI is here to help if we can in any way. We'll continue to provide updates on this topic as they develop. And be sure to check out our PDI blog for the latest updates. It's www.pdisoftware.com/blog. And so look there for updates, and we'll continue to keep you posted as the situation unfolds. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.